At 12:07 a.m., a door appeared in my hallway where there had only been a blank wall. I did not hear it arrive. No click, no shift, no sound at all. One moment, the hallway ended in drywall with a light switch and my coat hooks. The next moment, there was a door, standing slightly crooked, as if the building itself had hesitated before committing to it. The paint was an old, tired cream color, the kind used decades ago and never updated. The brass handle caught the light from my kitchen in a dull reflection that looked worn by hands I could not imagine. The air around it felt cooler, thinner. My phone read 12:07. I was wide awake. I stayed where I was for almost a full minute, listening for any sound that could explain it. Pipes cooling, the refrigerator, the distant hum of traffic below. Everything continued as usual. That was the worst part. The building had not reacted. It had accepted the door as if it had always belonged there. When I finally stepped into the hallway, the temperature dropped enough that my skin tightened. The light above me looked weaker, like it had farther to travel. The door had no number, no peephole, no frame trim, just a flat surface pressed into my space. Beneath it, the gap was wrong. Darkness pooled there, deep and heavy, not like a shadow, but like an opening. I crouched without thinking and leaned closer to the gap. The hallway floor should have continued under the door. Instead, the darkness seemed to sink downward, like the floor ended early. I felt a brief wave of vertigo, the kind you get when you miss a step in the dark. I pulled back fast and stood up too quickly. My shoulder brushed the wall. The wall felt different, smooth, freshly painted, without the familiar bumps where my keys had scraped it for years. I turned my head slowly and felt my stomach drop. My coat hooks were gone. Every trace of them had been erased. The hallway had been edited, not damaged, corrected. I raised my hand toward the door and stopped an inch short of the handle. Cold radiated from it in a way that had nothing to do with air temperature. My fingers tingled like they were too close to a live wire. That was when I heard the sound, not a knock, a soft scrape, slow and careful, coming from the other side of the door, like something thin being dragged across a hard floor. The scrape stopped the moment I froze. My heart started beating hard enough that I worried it would carry through the wood. I took a step back, then another. The scrape did not return. Across the hall, a door opened. My neighbor stepped out, half asleep, pulling on a jacket. He looked straight past the door behind me and focused on my face instead. "You okay?" His voice was casual, normal. I nodded and said yes before I could stop myself. He glanced once down the hallway, directly through the space the door occupied, and frowned slightly. "Cold in here tonight," he said. Then he walked away. When his footsteps faded, the scrape resumed immediately, louder this time, closer to the bottom of the door. The darkness under the gap shifted, like something had leaned down. A voice came through the wood, low, calm, certain. "Do not open it." The voice did not sound threatening. It sounded practiced, like someone reciting instructions they had given many times before. "Ignore it until morning," the voice said. "If you look at the handle, it will remember you." My eyes dropped to the handle without permission. The brass surface caught the light and reflected my face back at me, distorted and pale. The moment my gaze landed on it, the hallway light flickered once, just once. The scrape stopped. I felt a pressure behind my eyes, like the start of a headache, sharp and sudden. The air thickened, making it harder to breathe normally. I forced my gaze away and stared at the opposite wall until the pressure eased. From behind the door, something shifted. Not a step, a repositioning. My phone vibrated in my pocket. I did not remember taking it with me into the hallway. A message from an unknown number. Do not look at it again. Do not touch the wall around it. Do not stand closer than 3 steps. I read the lines twice. The message ended with a final sentence that made my hands shake. If it appeared for you, you have already been noticed. The scrape behind the door began moving in a slow rhythm, back and forth, like something pacing a narrow space. I retreated into the living room and sat on the floor with my back against the couch. From there, I could still see the door, framed by the dim hallway light. It did not move. It did not make a sound. The building settled around it. At 12:31, the hallway bulb dimmed slightly. At 12:46, the air cooled again. At 12:59, my ears began to ring faintly, like pressure before a storm. The door remained patient. Waiting felt like part of the test. At exactly 1 a.m., my phone vibrated again. Do not sleep. Do not leave. At 12:40, it will offer you a choice. I stared at the screen until the numbers burned into my thoughts. Behind me, from the hallway, came a new sound. A soft, deliberate tap, not on the door, on the wall beside it, exactly where my shoulder had been. The tap came again, same spot, same pressure, like a fingertip testing a surface. I stayed on the floor and kept my eyes on the door. The voice had warned me about the handle, not the wall. Still, the wall tapping felt like a private message, something meant only for the space inside my unit. My phone buzzed once more. Do not answer it. I did not know what answering meant. Speaking, touching, looking. The rules were narrow, but they spread fast in my head. The hallway light held steady, yet the shadows near the baseboard looked deeper, like they were collecting. At 1:07, the tapping stopped. The silence afterward felt planned. I listened for my neighbor's television or the elevator cable. Anything normal. The building gave me nothing except the low, steady hum of my refrigerator and the faint tick of the radiator. Then the scrape returned behind the door, slower than before, like something had learned the rhythm of my breathing. It moved once along the bottom edge, then paused. The darkness under the gap shifted, rising, as if the floor beneath it lifted. A thin sliver of light appeared for half a second, not from my hallway, from the other side. Then it vanished. I counted the distance between me and the door with my eyes. 3 steps was a small distance in a hallway. I was farther than that, sitting in the living room. Still, the cold spread into my legs as if it could reach across the floor without moving. My phone vibrated again, longer this time, like someone pressing and holding. The message was a single line. It likes attention. In the hallway, the door handle turned a few degrees by itself, slow and smooth, like a demonstration. It returned to center. No rattling, no failure. The movement felt controlled, not forced. I kept my gaze on the door's paint instead of the brass. At 1:22, my building's corridor lights outside my unit flickered. I saw the change through the thin crack under my front door. One quick pulse of brightness, then dim. The door in my hallway responded. Its surface seemed to drink the light, becoming slightly darker. The old cream paint looked older, like it had aged in seconds. I told myself it was imagination, a trick of shadow. Then I noticed something else. The door had gained a small brass plate near the top. It was blank. No number, no name, just a clean plate, ready for a label. The scrape behind the door stopped. The tap on the wall beside it resumed, but higher now, closer to eye level. A measured pattern. 2 taps, pause, 1 tap, pause, 2 taps. My stomach tightened because the pattern felt like a code. I did not know the code, but I knew it was meant to be learned. My phone buzzed again. If it writes you, it keeps you. I did not understand that line until my eyes drifted to the brass plate. The plate caught my kitchen light and reflected a faint, warped version of my face. The pressure behind my eyes returned instantly, sharp and sudden, like a hand squeezing. I looked away fast. The pressure eased. The door did not move, but the scrape resumed, satisfied. At 1:40, the building changed. Not dramatically, just enough that I felt it. The air in my living room thickened, like humidity without warmth. The refrigerator hum sounded slightly lower, a half step down, as if the pitch had been adjusted. From behind the hallway door, a soft sound began. Not scraping, not tapping. A slow exhale through teeth, steady and quiet, repeating every few seconds. My lungs tried to match it. In, out. I forced a different rhythm. Short inhale, long exhale. My chest resisted, then corrected itself, drifting back into the steady pace. That was when I understood the choice would not be a question. It would be a position. At 12:39, I realized my mistake. I had been watching the clock on my phone without meaning to. The number 12:40 sat ahead like an appointment. My body had been bracing for it the way it braced for cold water. At 12:40, the hallway bulb dimmed by a fraction. The door's brass plate brightened slightly. A line of text appeared on my phone without any notification tone. It was not a message thread. It looked like a system banner, plain and centered. Step closer. The scrape behind the door stopped. The tapping stopped. The exhale stopped. Everything waited for my response. I stayed on the floor, frozen, trying to think of a safe refusal. The rule had said do not stand closer than 3 steps. Step closer was already a violation of that rule, which meant either the rules had shifted or the earlier rules had been bait. My legs moved anyway. Not fully, just a small shift, knees flexing, as if I was about to stand. I pressed my palms into the carpet and held myself down. The banner on my phone remained. Step closer. In the hallway, the door handle turned again, farther this time. The latch clicked softly, like a polite reminder that it could open if it wanted. The brass plate made a faint ticking sound, like metal cooling. I stood up slowly, not because I agreed, but because I needed to feel my joints move under my own command. I kept my eyes on the drywall beside the door, not the handle, not the plate. I measured 3 steps in my head and stopped at that line. The carpet under my feet felt colder near the hallway, like the temperature changed in a boundary. My phone updated. Good. A second line appeared beneath it. Do not look down. I realized my gaze had been drifting toward the gap under the door, toward that unnatural darkness. I locked my eyes at chest height and held still. From behind the door, something made a quiet sound of approval. Not a word, a small, satisfied breath. The brass plate began to fill with letters, faint at first, as if they were being etched by invisible pressure. I did not look directly at it. I saw it in the edge of my vision, where the mind is less sure and more honest. A name was forming, my name. My throat tightened. My heart tried to speed up, but my breathing stayed calm, steady, trained to the exhale pattern from the other side. My phone displayed a final line. Chapter 2 begins when you return to bed. I backed away from the hallway without turning my back on the door. The cold followed me only to the living room edge, then stopped, like a leash, like a boundary. I lay down fully dressed and stared at the ceiling, waiting for sleep I did not want. And in the hallway, the door stayed, listening. I lay on my back with my hands on top of the blanket, as if hiding my hands would count as disobedience. The living room light was off, but the hallway light stayed on. It gave the apartment a thin, hospital-like glow. I could see the edge of the door from where I lay, just enough to know it was still there. My phone rested on the nightstand, screen down, silent. I tried to slow my thoughts. I tried to make sleep a routine again. At 12:58, the building sounded normal. At 12:59, the radiator clicked once. At 1 o'clock, the hallway went quieter than it should have. At 1:07 a.m., my phone unlocked without a sound. Notes opened by itself to a blank page. The cursor blinked once, then stopped, like the system wanted me to read instead of write. A line appeared. Do not sit up. Another line followed. Do not look toward the hallway. The rules were too precise. They were written for someone in a bed, written for my posture, written as if a camera had already measured the angle of my head. I stared at the ceiling and kept my eyes fixed on a hairline crack in the paint. I tried to breathe in my own rhythm. My lungs chose the other rhythm anyway. From the hallway, the scrape began. It moved along the floor, slow and careful, stopping often, like the thing behind the door was checking its position against something invisible. The scrape sounded closer than it had earlier, not louder, but nearer, like the distance between us had shrunk, even though neither of us had moved. My phone typed another line. It will test your stillness. A faint pressure settled on my chest, not heavy, but present, like a hand resting there. I told myself it was anxiety. Then the pressure matched the timing of the scrape, arriving and easing in a deliberate pattern. The building was teaching my body what to feel. At 1:11, the hallway bulb dimmed slightly. Not a flicker, a slow, controlled dip, like a dial being turned. The scrape stopped. A new sound replaced it, a soft tap on the drywall, directly outside my bedroom wall, at the height of my shoulder. 2 taps. Pause. 1 tap. Pause. 2 taps again. My phone displayed the next rule. Do not count. It was too late. The taps had already planted numbers in my head. I tried to focus on the crack in the ceiling to keep my mind empty, but the pattern stayed behind my eyes like a moving shadow. The tapping shifted closer, sliding along the wall in small increments until it reached the spot nearest my headboard. The sound was gentle, almost careful, like someone knocking from the inside of the wall rather than the hallway. I kept still. I kept my eyes up. I kept my mouth closed. My phone typed one more line. If you turn your head, it will learn your face. The sentence landed with a cold clarity. I understood what it implied. The door did not only want entry, it wanted recognition. It wanted a model of me, built from angles and stillness, taken without my consent. A faint click came from the hallway, not my front door, the other door, the one that should not exist. The click was followed by a soft, slow creak, the kind of sound a hinge makes when it has not been used in a long time. The sound did not travel like a normal hallway noise. It felt closer than it should have, as if the door was opening into my apartment rather than into its own space. The air in my room cooled by a fraction. My fingertips tingled. My phone showed a single word: hold. The pressure on my chest returned, slightly stronger. My breathing tried to match it, in and out at the steady pace that had been demonstrated earlier. I forced a shallow breath, then a deeper one. My body corrected itself. It returned to the steady pace without asking. In the darkness behind my eyelids, I pictured the hallway door opening wider. I pictured the gap under it widening like a mouth. I tried not to look toward the hallway, but the sound was enough to build the scene in my head. A scrape began again, this time on a harder surface. Not carpet, concrete. The roof sound, the basement sound, the sound of spaces not meant for living. Then another sound followed, faint but clear. A camera beep, one beep, pause, a second beep. My phone typed a new line. Recording started. I realized then that my stillness was not for safety, it was for quality. They wanted a clean capture, no blur, no motion, no proof of resistance. The tapping on the wall stopped. The air held steady. Then, from the hallway, a very soft sound came through, low enough to be missed if I had been half asleep. A whisper, not a word. My name, spoken once, calmly, like a label being tested for fit. My phone responded with another line. Do not answer to your name. The rule felt impossible. My name was mine. Hearing it should have been normal, but the voice made it sound like a tool being picked up. The whisper came again, slightly closer. My name, repeated in the same calm tone. It did not sound like my neighbor. It did not sound like anyone I knew. It sounded like a recording of an older man, played through something that did not have a speaker. The pressure on my chest eased, then returned like a pulse. My phone typed, if it repeats 3 times, do not breathe in. That rule hit me like a shove. It asked for something the body does without permission. It asked me to interrupt a reflex. It asked me to prove control where control is thin. The whisper came a 3rd time. My name. I held my breath. The world narrowed to the small, painful need for air. My lungs tightened, but I kept them still. I did not inhale. I did not move. The crack in the ceiling blurred. My eyes watered. Then the pressure on my chest lifted completely, as if something had stepped away. The hallway sound softened. The creak of the impossible door stopped. My phone typed a final line for the minute. Pass. At 1:12, the notes page vanished. The phone locked itself. The hallway bulb returned to normal brightness. But I did not feel relief. because the rule had worked. My body had obeyed, and the door now knew it could train me. In the morning, the hallway wall looked normal again. My coat hooks were in place. The light switch was where it had always been. The apartment smelled like stale air and coffee grounds, familiar and safe. Only one detail had changed. On my nightstand, my phone lay screen up, even though I remembered placing it face down. Notes was not open. No message was visible. It looked innocent, but beside it, on the wood surface, there was a faint circular mark, like a warm object had been pressed there for a long time. I touched the mark with my fingertip. It was cold. That day, I tried to behave like someone who had not been tested in his own bed. I went to work. I spoke when spoken to. I kept my hands busy with small tasks so my mind would not replay the whisper and the rules. The whole time, I watched doors, office doors, elevator doors, glass doors on storefronts. They all opened with a purpose. They all closed with a final sound. After work, I stood outside my building for a full minute before going in. The entrance looked normal. The lobby lights buzzed softly. People passed. No one seemed afraid. I told myself the midnight door belonged to my unit only. Then I walked inside and felt the cameras settle on me. In the elevator, I noticed a new sticker on the wall beside the emergency button. It was small, white, printed in plain block letters. Do not hold the door. I had never seen it before. I stared until the elevator reached my floor. When the doors opened, I did not hold them. I stepped out immediately, as if the sticker had authority. On my floor, the corridor looked normal at first. Beige carpet, soft lighting, closed doors. Then I saw it. A thin strip of tape on the carpet, forming a rectangle near the center of the hall. A place to stand. No one else was there. I walked past the taped rectangle without stepping into it. I kept my pace steady. I did not run. Running felt like attention. My unit door looked unchanged. I unlocked it and stepped inside. The air in my apartment was slightly colder than it should have been at that hour. Not basement cold, not winter cold. A careful cold, like the building had lowered the temperature by a few degrees for a reason. My phone buzzed once. A message from the unknown number. Do not use the hallway after 11:50. No greeting, no name, just a boundary. I read it twice and felt a slow, dull anger rise, then fade into caution. At 11:43 p.m., I made tea and left the cup on the counter. At 11:49, I used the bathroom and kept the door open afterward, as if closed doors were now suspicious. At 11:55, I turned off every light except the hallway bulb, then stood in my living room and listened. The building made its usual night noises. A distant elevator, pipes settling, a faint thump from someone above me. At 12:01, my phone unlocked, notes opened. The cursor blinked twice and stopped. A new rule appeared. Do not cross the tape in the hallway. The building was extending the test beyond my unit. At 12:07, the impossible door appeared again. I did not look at the handle. I did not step closer than 3 steps. I kept my eyes on the paint above the brass plate, forcing my gaze away from anything reflective. The brass plate now held letters, not my full name, just my first initial, like a label in progress. The scrape behind the door began immediately, then paused, like it was listening for my reaction. My phone typed another line. "The hallway is not for you tonight." A third line followed, slower. "If you open your unit door, it counts as opening it." I felt my throat tighten. The rules were narrowing. The building was closing options one by one. At 12:15, my hallway bulb dimmed slightly and stayed dim. The air in my living room cooled again. The scrape behind the impossible door moved along the floor in a slow, controlled line, then stopped. A soft tap came from my front door. Not a knock, a single test. At the height of the lock, my phone responded with a new instruction: "Do not check the peephole." I kept my eyes away, but my body leaned forward by a fraction, as if curiosity was a muscle being pulled. I stepped back and planted my feet wider, grounding myself. Then another tap came. Same spot, same pressure. A third tap. My heart tried to speed up. My breathing stayed steady, trained to the other rhythm. I sat on the couch again and kept my hands visible on my knees. The apartment felt like a waiting room. The kind with neutral colors and no clocks. The kind designed to make time blur. At 12:29, the unknown number messaged again. If it offers you a door inside a door, do not accept. The line made no sense until the hallway changed. The impossible door creaked, slow and careful, as if it was opening slightly. I did not look at the handle. I watched the seam along the frame. A thin line of darkness appeared as the door shifted, and inside that line, I saw another surface, another door, behind the first, a door within a door. The second door was darker, almost black, with a handle that looked newer, clean metal that reflected light sharply. The first door continued to open a fraction, enough to reveal a strip of the second one, like a layer being peeled back. The scrape sound came from deeper inside now, farther away, as if the space behind the door was longer than my hallway. My phone typed, "It is offering you a shortcut." I felt the pull of it immediately. Not a desire, exactly. A sense of relief, like a promise that the test could end if I stepped through. The building was not using fear alone. It was using comfort. The unknown number sent another message, fast, like urgency translated into text. Do not step toward it. Do not speak. Do not bargain. The second door behind the first moved on its own, a slight twitch, like it was alive. The new metal handle caught my hallway light and threw it into my living room, a sharp line that landed on my wall like a pointer. The pointer landed on the spot where my coat hooks had disappeared the first night. The wall there looked smoother than the surrounding paint, as if it had been refinished. I realized the hallway was being rewritten in small edits, and I was the only one noticing the revision history. I stayed on the couch and stared at the line of light. The steady breathing pattern returned in my chest, slow and calm, the wrong calm, the kind that felt borrowed. My phone typed a single word, "Choose." The cursor blinked beneath it, waiting. The first door held open just enough to show the second door clearly now. The second door's handle turned slightly, as if someone on the other side was trying it, testing whether it moved smoothly. My apartment did not feel like an apartment anymore. It felt like the edge of a system where my next movement would change my status. At 12:40, The light in my hallway dimmed again, and the second door opened a fraction wider, inviting. I did not move toward it. I did not speak. I did not touch my phone. I sat still and let the invitation hang in the air until it started to feel heavy. The scrape sound stopped completely, leaving a silence that felt like a held breath. The second door behind the first stayed open just enough to show darkness beyond, deep and clean, without dust or texture. Then the unknown number sent one final line. If you refuse, it will try someone else. I read that and felt a cold wave of guilt, sudden and sharp. The building had found a way around my fear. It had placed responsibility in my hands. The phone screen brightened slightly, like it sensed the change in me. The cursor blinked. Choose. And somewhere in the hallway, beyond the impossible door, something waited for my answer. I stared at the word choose until it stopped looking like a word and started looking like a trap. The message about someone else sat in my chest like a small stone. If you refuse, it will try someone else. The building had made the decision feel moral instead of mechanical. I kept my hands on my knees. I did not touch the phone. I did not move closer to the hallway. I waited for the offer to fade, like the door was supposed to fade at morning. It did not. At 12:46, the hallway light held dim. At 12:53, the second door's handle turned again, a slow test. At 1:01, the air inside my apartment cooled another degree. The offer stayed open. I heard a faint sound from the corridor outside my unit, not from the impossible door, from the real hallway beyond my front door. A soft shuffle of feet, someone walking slowly, then stopping. My phone typed a new line. Listen, a second line followed. Do not warn them. My stomach dropped. The building was not guessing. It already knew someone was near. I kept my gaze on the seam of the impossible door, not the handle, and listened harder. The shuffling came again, closer now, then a pause that felt like a person hesitating outside my door. I pictured a neighbor checking their mail, a late-night smoker, someone returning from work, someone about to be noticed. The taped rectangle I had seen earlier in the hallway returned to my mind, a place to stand, a position to hold. The building liked clean frames. From behind the impossible door, the scrape sound began again, deeper this time, like it came from farther inside. The second door moved a fraction wider, and the darkness beyond looked smooth and clean, like an unlit room with fresh paint. The phone typed, "You may refuse, but the system continues." The message was calm, almost kind. It made refusal sound reasonable while making it feel useless. Outside my unit, the person in the hallway let out a quiet sigh. Then a gentle knock came at my front door. Not loud, not urgent, the kind of knock people use when they know you are home. 2 soft taps. My phone responded immediately. Do not open, do not speak, do not use the peephole. I stayed still. The knock came again, the same pattern. The person's voice followed, faint through the door. "Hey, sorry, can you help me with something?" It was a woman's voice, tired, normal, someone trying not to sound awkward. I recognized it. Mara, from 17D. She sometimes worked late. She sometimes carried groceries with both arms and used her shoulder to push her door. I had spoken to her maybe 3 times in 2 years. Her voice did not belong in this moment. The impossible door in my hallway creaked, slow and careful, like it was responding to her presence. The second door behind it held steady, open just enough to offer the clean darkness beyond. The brass plate on the first door looked darker now, like the metal had cooled. My phone typed a new line. She is the other option. I felt a cold anger rise, then flatten into helplessness. The building was forcing a choice by placing a human voice outside my real door. Mara knocked again, softer. My key is stuck. I do not want to wake anyone. Her words sounded reasonable, and that made the trap sharper. I did not move. My silence felt cruel. I tried to tell myself I was protecting her by not engaging. Then the phone typed something that made my throat tighten. Engagement confirms target. It did not say help. It did not say neighbor. It said target, like a category. Mara's voice came again, closer to the door. Are you there? I kept my eyes on the ceiling line above my TV. I forced my breathing into an uneven pattern, trying to break the training. My lungs resisted, then drifted back into the steady rhythm. In the hallway, the second door behind the impossible door opened another inch, like it was gaining confidence. My phone buzzed with a message from the unknown number, short and urgent. Do not let it use your empathy. The sentence landed hard because it named what I had been feeling. The building was not only measuring my fear, it was measuring my decency. It was seeing how quickly I could be pushed by the idea of someone else suffering. Mara's voice lowered. I think something is wrong with the lock. I heard a door in the hallway. Did you hear it too? I did not like that. She had heard it. That meant she was already inside the circle. The knock came again, but different this time. Not Mara's gentle pattern. A single, precise tap at the height of the deadbolt. Then another. The hallway sound behind the impossible door changed. The scrape became a slow dragging, like something heavier shifting position. My phone typed. She is now visible. A second line followed. Do not explain. Mara spoke again, but her voice sounded slightly flatter, like the warmth had been pulled out of it. Can you open the door? The words were the same. The tone was not. I realized the building could edit people the way it edited walls. I kept still and watched the impossible door. The brass plate near the top began to show faint letters again, etched slowly as if by invisible pressure. The letters were not mine this time. M.A., the beginning of Mara's name. My stomach turned. The building was labeling her the way it had tried to label me. The second door behind the first door held open. Clean darkness waiting like a quiet hallway with no exit signs. My phone typed a final line for the moment. If you do nothing, the door chooses for you. Mara's voice, now too calm, repeated, Open the door, and in my hallway, the impossible door opened wider than it ever had before. The impossible door's edge shifted again, a slow widening that felt deliberate. The light from my hallway changed as the opening grew, not brighter, dimmer, as if the door was taking light into itself. The darkness beyond the second door looked clean and smooth, like it belonged to a space with no dust, no smell, no air. Mara stood outside my real front door. Still speaking in that flatter voice, I heard her breathing between words. It sounded measured, like mine had started to sound. My phone typed a new rule: do not touch your front door. I had not planned to, yet my hand lifted slightly from my knee, drifting, like the idea of the door had become a magnet. I pressed my palm hard into the couch cushion to anchor it. The fabric texture scratched against my skin. It helped for a second. Then the urge returned, quieter but persistent. Mara knocked again. 2 taps. Pause. 2 taps. A normal pattern. A human pattern. But now the taps landed on the exact same spot every time. Too precise to be natural. My phone added another line: do not match her rhythm. I realized my breathing had begun to sync to her tapping without my consent. In, out, in, out. The same steady pace, like our bodies were being tuned to the same setting. The unknown number sent another message: if you look at her through the peephole, it will lock onto her. I kept my eyes away from the peephole, but the warning planted an image in my head anyway. Mara's face close to the glass, her eyes searching, her mouth trying to smile. The building had learned to use pictures against me. In the hallway, the second door behind the impossible door opened another inch. The scrape sound from deep inside shifted, then stopped, like something had reached a line it could not cross yet. My phone typed, choose, by midnight plus 1 hour. I stared at that line until I understood. 1 a.m. I checked the time without thinking. 12:54. My heart tried to speed up. My breathing refused. It stayed steady, trained. Wrong. Mara spoke again. The words were normal. The tone was not. I do not feel right. My head feels light. I wanted to respond. I wanted to say her name, to ask if she was okay. The phone buzzed once, as if it heard the impulse. Do not use her name. Behind the impossible door, a soft sound began. Not scraping, a quiet clicking, like a camera focusing. The building was preparing to record the choice. At 12:58, the hallway bulb dimmed another fraction. The edges of my apartment seemed to soften, like the light was losing definition. The impossible door's brass plate showed more letters now. M-A-R. It paused there, as if waiting for confirmation. The second door behind it held open. Darkness, breathing out a cold, clean air. Mara's voice came quieter. Please, just open the door. The sentence was not a request anymore. It was a prompt. My phone typed one line, calm as ever. If you open, you offer her. I swallowed and tasted metal. At 12:59, my front door lock clicked softly. Not the deadbolt, the latch. A subtle adjustment, like the building was taking control of the door without fully committing. Mara stopped speaking. The silence on the other side was worse than words. I heard a small movement, a shift of weight, then a slow inhale. My phone typed, "She is listening for your breath." I held my breath for 2 seconds to test it. I let it out slowly, trying to keep it uneven. The exhale came out steady anyway. In the hallway, the impossible door opened wider, enough that I could now see the edge of the second door's frame. The second door had a new detail, a peephole on the inside, pointed outward. The presence of that peephole made my skin tighten. It meant something on the other side wanted to look back. It meant the viewing was mutual now. The building was not only watching me, it was setting a scene where I could be watched by something else. At 1 a.m., my phone screen brightened slightly. The word "choose" appeared alone, centered like a button without a button. The cursor blinked beneath it. Mara's voice returned, but it was not her voice now. It was too flat, too evenly spaced. "Open the door." My front door chain rattled once, without being touched, as if someone had tested it. My phone typed a final line. Choice, window closed. The apartment went quieter than silence. The refrigerator hum dropped out for a moment. The radiator tick stopped mid-cycle. Even the distant traffic seemed to fade. The building held its breath. Then the impossible door in my hallway moved on its own, opening in a slow, smooth arc. The second door behind it opened at the same time, matching the motion like a mirror. The darkness beyond did not spill into my apartment. It stayed inside the frame, held back like liquid in a glass. My phone displayed a system banner. Auto selection in progress. I did not like that it was a process, not an event. Outside my front door, Mara made a soft sound of surprise, then a quiet, controlled exhale. The latch on my front door clicked again. The door did not open. The building did not need it open yet. It was setting alignment. The peephole on the inner door behind the impossible door gleamed faintly. I felt, without proof, that an eye had settled behind it. My phone typed, "Do not look at the inner peephole." My gaze was already drifting toward it. I forced my eyes to the ceiling. My neck muscles tightened, fighting the urge to turn. Mara whispered my name once from the hallway, like she was reading it off something. That was new. That meant it had told her. A cold wave moved through my stomach. The unknown number messaged again. If it auto-chooses, it chooses the nearest compliant unit. Nearest. That word turned my apartment into a coordinate. It made distance feel like a weapon. The hallway light dimmed another fraction. The wall beside the impossible door looked smoother again, as if edits were being applied in layers. My phone typed, "Stay in place." I realized my body had already adjusted into a still posture. Hands on knees, back straight, feet flat. A position that would look clean on camera. In the hallway, the impossible door waited open, like a mouth. Outside my front door, Mara's breathing matched mine. And somewhere between us, the building decided which of us would be kept. At 1:11, my phone unlocked without sound. Notes opened. The cursor blinked once, then stopped. A single line appeared. Target confirmed. My hands went numb. I did not know if the target was me or Mara. I did not know which answer would be worse. Then a second line appeared. Return to your bed. The instruction was familiar. It was the same kind of instruction that had started the first tests. It meant my stillness was needed again, in the position the system preferred. From the hallway, I heard Mara's door open down the corridor. Not my door. Her door. A soft creak, slow and careful, like the impossible door had creaked. Then her voice, faint and flat, drifted through the building. "Do not open it." The words sounded like a rule being passed along, like a chain, and I understood the worst part. The door did not need to keep me. It could make me help it. I returned to my bed, because my legs moved before my mind finished arguing. I lay down and kept my eyes on the ceiling crack again, the same place my gaze had anchored the night before. The hallway light remained on. It spilled a thin glow into my room, enough that I could see the edge of my door frame. My phone rested on the nightstand, screen down, silent. At 1:12, notes opened anyway. A single line appeared. Transfer started. I felt the pressure settle on my chest again, lighter than before, as if the system had learned exactly how much weight it needed to keep me still. The hallway went quiet in a controlled way. Even the building's ordinary noises seemed dampened. I listened for Mara, for movement outside, for any sign of panic. None came. Instead, I heard the soft scrape, not in the hallway this time, but inside the walls, a slow dragging, as if something thin moved through the structure of the building itself. It passed behind my bedroom wall, then behind my closet, then toward the living room. My phone typed another line. Do not follow the sound. The instruction made it clear that following was possible, that the sound was a trail, that the building expected curiosity to become motion. I kept still and let the scrape travel away. At 1:19, a new smell entered my room, clean metal like cold keys. It came and went in a gentle pulse, timed with the scrape inside the walls. My throat tightened each time it returned. Notes updated. Do not breathe deeply. I took a shallow breath, then another. My lungs wanted to pull in more air. The body wanted to panic. The system did not. The pressure on my chest increased by a fraction when my inhale grew too deep, like a correction. I was being guided without hands. In the living room, something tapped the wall twice, then paused. A code. The taps continued, moving along the wall toward the hallway in small increments, as if the tapping itself was walking. 2 taps. Pause. 1 tap. Pause. 2 taps. The pattern I had heard before, now inside my apartment. My phone typed a new rule. Do not count. I had already counted. My mind had already put numbers to it. I focused on the ceiling crack again, trying to empty my thoughts into one thin line of paint. The tapping stopped. A new sound replaced it. A very soft hinge creak, not from my front door, from the hallway, from the impossible door. It was opening again. I did not look toward the hallway, but my ears mapped the sound automatically. The opening was slow and controlled, like it had been rehearsed. The air in my bedroom cooled, the way it cooled when the door first appeared. The cold reached me in a gentle wave, and then held. Notes typed another line. Do not turn your head. The rule was almost unnecessary now. My neck muscles felt locked into place. My breathing had settled into the steady rhythm without any effort. From the hallway came a new sound, a faint, polite knocking, not on my door, on something else. A knock that did not belong in my apartment. 3 soft taps. Pause. 3 again. My phone vibrated once. The unknown number messaged. It is not asking. It is checking. A second message followed. If you answer, you become the hinge. I read that and felt a cold wave in my stomach. The phrase hinge was too specific. It described what the system wanted, a point of transfer, a person used as a connection. From the hallway, the knocking stopped. The scrape began again, but closer now, like something had moved from the impossible door into the space outside my bedroom. I kept my eyes on the ceiling. The pressure on my chest grew slightly heavier. At 1:27, a whisper came through my bedroom door. Not loud enough to carry in a normal building, but it reached me clearly, as if the sound had been routed directly. It spoke my name once, then Mara's name. It said them like labels in a list, calm and careful. My skin tightened. The voice did not sound like hers. It did not sound like mine. It sounded like the older voice I had heard behind the impossible door. Now closer, now inside the building. Notes updated. Do not respond to names. Another line followed, slower. Subjects must remain undeclared. The language felt clinical. It made us into entries, not people. The scrape outside my room stopped. A soft click came from my bedroom handle. Not a turn, a test. My handle returned to center without opening. The click did not repeat. The system did not need force. It only needed to confirm that access was possible. Notes typed. Stay still for clear recording. A camera beep sounded faintly from the hallway. One beep. Pause. One beep again. My heartbeat tried to rise. My breathing refused. It held steady and calm, like the system had installed its own metronome in my chest. Then the beep stopped, and a new sound started, deep in the wall. A low hum, vibrating through the studs. It matched the rhythm of my breathing. The hum traveled slowly along the wall line, moving away from my bedroom toward the living room, then toward the front of my unit. It felt like a heavy cable being pulled through a narrow space. My phone typed. Transfer path confirmed. I realized with sick clarity what transfer meant. It was not the door moving. It was the effect moving. The door was a station. The building was a network. The system was rerouting something from one unit to another. From outside my front door, I heard a faint sound, a soft shuffle, someone moving in the corridor. Mara, or someone going to Mara. Notes added another line. Do not intervene. At 1:34, my hallway light dimmed, not fully, just enough that the edges of things blurred. In that dimness, I felt the apartment shift subtly, like pressure equalizing in a sealed container. A sound came from the hallway that made my skin go cold. A door opening, not mine. A door farther down the corridor. Mara's door. The hinge creak was slow and careful, the same controlled tone as the impossible door. Then a gentle tap. A voice, flat and calm, spoke one rule. Do not open it. It was Mara's voice, but it did not carry her warmth. It sounded like it had been recorded and played back through her mouth. My phone typed the last line of the minute. Transfer complete. At 1:35, the pressure on my chest lifted, and the building's ordinary noises returned in soft layers. The refrigerator hum rose back to its normal pitch. The radiator tick resumed. Somewhere below, a car passed, and the sound slid away. I lay still anyway, because my body did not know the difference between release and instruction anymore. In the hallway, the impossible door did not creak. It did not scrape. It did not tap. It simply existed in silence, like it was satisfied. My phone locked itself. On the screen, just before it went dark, I saw a single system banner. Next appearance. Unit 17D, Mara's unit, and I understood what the building had made me. Not a victim, a witness that stayed alive long enough to keep watching. I did not leave my apartment the next morning. I stood behind my front door and listened to the corridor instead. Footsteps passed. Someone laughed softly at the elevator. Keys jingled. Normal sounds returned, layered and careless. At 9:12, I opened my door a crack and looked out. The hallway looked unchanged. Beige carpet, closed doors, no tape, no marks. The place where the impossible door had appeared was blank drywall again, complete with my coat hooks and their familiar scuffs. Only the air felt wrong. It was colder in a narrow band along the wall, like a memory that refused to warm. I checked my phone for messages. Nothing. No rules, no unknown number. The silence felt deliberate, like a pause after a completed task. When I stepped into the hallway, the building's cameras felt closer, not louder, not obvious, just aware. I walked past the spot where the impossible door had been and felt a faint pressure behind my eyes, like a reminder. Further down the corridor, near Mara's unit, the air changed again. It felt flatter there, as if sound did not travel as well. Her door was closed. There was no sign of damage, no tape, no warning. At noon, I knocked on Mara's door. Once, then twice. I told myself it was concern. I told myself it was normal. The building did not react. No lights dimmed. No scrape sounded behind the walls. After a long pause, the door opened. Mara stood there, dressed for work, hair tied back, expression neutral. Her eyes focused on my face, then settled into a calm, steady gaze that did not blink enough. "Hey," she said. Her voice was even, clean, a practiced normal. I asked if she was okay. She smiled slightly. "I slept fine," she said. The conversation felt shallow, like words passing over a sealed surface. She did not invite me in. I did not ask. The hallway around us remained quiet, attentive. As she spoke, I noticed a small detail. On the inside edge of her door frame, barely visible, there was a faint circular mark in the paint, perfectly round, cold-looking. I glanced at my own door frame without meaning to. The same mark sat there too. Mara followed my gaze and tilted her head. "You should not stand in the hallway too long after midnight," she said calmly. The sentence sounded memorized. She closed her door gently, no slam, no hesitation. The hallway felt heavier after that, like it had accepted something new. I returned to my unit and locked my door, then checked the time without thinking. 12:04 p.m. The numbers meant nothing during the day, but my body still reacted. A small tightening in the chest, a readiness I did not remember learning. On my phone, a notification appeared for the first time since the transfer. System status stable. No app name, no sender, just confirmation. That night, the building did not test me. No door appeared. No rules arrived. Midnight passed quietly. I slept in short pieces and dreamed of hallways that stretched without doors, walls smoothing themselves as I watched. At 12:07, I woke briefly with the certainty that something had changed. The feeling passed without explanation. In the morning, I found a new mark on my wall near the coat hooks, a small dot, perfectly round, like a point added to a chart. Days passed. The building stayed quiet. too quiet. The cameras did not blink. The hallway did not cool. No impossible door appeared. Life returned to routine in the way routines return after an accident. Then, one evening, I overheard a conversation in the lobby. Two neighbors stood near the mailboxes, speaking softly. I was told to ignore it, one of them said. Ignore what? The other asked. The first paused, then shook their head. Never mind. They walked away without finishing the thought. I noticed new stickers around the building after that. Small, white, plain text. Do not hold the door. Do not wait in the hallway. After midnight, do not open unmarked doors. No logos, no explanations, just rules that looked like they had always been there. At night, I sometimes heard the soft scrape again. Far away, not near my unit. Somewhere else in the building. Somewhere learning. My phone stayed silent. That was worse than instructions. At 12:07 one night, I stood in my hallway and watched the blank wall. Nothing appeared, but the air cooled slightly, just enough to be noticed. I waited because waiting had become instinct. The building did not need to test me anymore. It had learned my posture, my breathing, my stillness. At 12:40, my phone unlocked once. A single line appeared. Observation continues. Then the screen went dark. I no longer look at doors the way I used to. I notice hinges, gaps, the way light behaves around frames. At night, I listen for scrapes and taps that do not belong to my unit. Sometimes, when I walk through the city late, I see people standing still near walls, waiting without knowing why. I recognize the posture. Hands loose, eyes unfocused, trained. The building did not keep the door for itself. It learned how to place it elsewhere, in other hallways, other complexes, other cities. The door does not always appear. Sometimes it is only a rule. Sometimes it is only a suggestion passed between neighbors. Ignore it. Do not open it. Those words spread faster than fear. Mara still lives down the hall. We exchange nods. We never speak about midnight. Sometimes I see her standing very still near her door, listening as if waiting for a sound that might never come. On her wall, the dots have formed a small pattern. On mine, the pattern grows slowly, point by point. At 12:07, I still wake up. At 12:40, I still wait. The door does not need to appear anymore. I know where it would be, and I know what it would ask. If someone ever tells you to ignore a door that appears after midnight, listen carefully, not to the door, to the rules, because the door is not the danger, it is the test, and the city never stops testing those who stay quiet long enough. A week later, I rode the elevator down with a delivery driver I had never seen before. He kept his eyes on the floor numbers and held a paper bag against his chest. When the doors opened on the lobby level, he did not step out right away. He stood perfectly still for 2 seconds, head tilted slightly toward the wall near the mailboxes. Then he blinked hard, like waking. "Sorry," he murmured, and walked out quickly. No one else noticed. The cameras above the lobby doors did not blink red. They did not need to. I stopped checking my hallway at midnight. Checking had become a kind of prayer, and I did not want to feed it. But the building kept leaving small confirmations that it was still present. A faint cold band along the drywall. A dot added near my coat hooks. A sticker appearing where there had been blank space. "Do not look directly at new doors." The sticker was printed cleanly, with no brand and no date. It looked like it had always been part of building policy. When I tried to peel it off, the corner tore and left a perfect circle of adhesive behind, like a mark placed on purpose. One night I woke before 12:07 and realized my breathing was already steady, already aligned. I had not heard a scrape. I had not seen anything. My body simply prepared, the way it prepares for a familiar sound. I lay still and stared at the ceiling. In the hallway, nothing appeared, but I heard a soft tap on the wall beside where the door had been. 2 taps. Pause. 1 tap. Pause. 2 taps. The code I was told not to count. My mouth went dry as I understood. The door did not need to be visible to be active. The next morning, Mara's door opened as I stepped into the hallway. She looked at me with that calm, practiced expression. "You should not stand here too long," she said. I nodded, and she nodded back, like we had completed a routine. As she turned to go, I saw the inside of her door for a brief second. Near the top, on the wood that only she should see, there was a brass plate. It was blank, clean, waiting for letters. That night, at 12:07, my phone stayed dark. No rules, no warnings, no messages from the unknown number. The silence was complete, and it felt like permission. I lay in bed and waited for the usual cold. It did not come. Instead, I heard a new sound, soft and close, from inside my own room. A hinge creak. Not in the hallway, not in the wall, right beside my closet. Then the calm voice, low and certain, spoke from somewhere that was not a speaker. "Do not open it." And I understood what the building had been teaching me all along. The door did not appear in the hallway anymore. It appeared wherever I stopped believing I needed to look.